All right, y'all. Last week we talked about the universal Christ, and I know you thoroughly enjoyed it if you were here. And if you weren't, you should probably listen to it because it does give you an understanding of what we're talking about when we talk about the Christ consciousness and the Christ and Jesus the Christ and you the Christ. It actually will break the barriers in your brain. So try to watch that so you can get it. All right. Today we're going to talk about Jesus opening the door. Sometimes we hear information that's interesting, and we sit with it, and we ponder it, and we feel it, and it becomes a part of our files. We have these great, massive files in our brain, and they just store all the data that we've accumulated, and there it goes. It goes into one of our files. Sometimes we hear information that creates an instant aha, and our being expands, and we feel a connection. Something within us understands. It connects the mind, the spirit, and the emotions. And this connection is often not logical. It's just like, I knew that. I don't know how I knew it, but I knew it. Oh my God, that makes total sense to me. You guys know? You've had them? Okay. Once you have that, you never are the same. There's a connection that's created in your soul, in your brain, in your mind that never reverts back to what it once was. It is a moment where the information has touched the essence of who you are. And a new wisdom is now a part of you. Wisdom. Wisdom means I can apply it. Wisdom means I don't stick it in a file. It is a part of me. So it now becomes functional in my level of consciousness. So we understand it. It connects us. It's a new way of being, and it's created in you. Okay? It's a new connection, and how you live now will change, depending on what was achieved, what occurred, but how you live will change. How you respond to things will change. Maybe not 1,000% across the board, but whatever that affected. You guys with me? Okay. Jesus brought that kind of connection to mankind, an understanding of life, God, and being that allowed man to become different. That's what Jesus brought. Christianity should not be a way of living. It should be a way of living. Erase that. Christianity should be a way of living, not just standards we live by. Okay? So, if you take a strawberry and you dip it into chocolate, it's still a strawberry, is it not? So, when we look at religion as a set of conditions and rules to live by, we are only dipping ourselves into an outer standard, but we are still the same internally. Okay? Metaphysical Christianity is all about changing the within. We change the within, and then that changes the without. But to wear your beliefs and not be your beliefs, they are standards outside of self then, are they not? They're not in you. So, standards outside of self, we give our power to. This is not what Jesus brought. He brought a life that is connected differently. He brought a connection to the divine, and it begins with the spiritual ahas, and that becomes a new creation inside you. The spiritual ahas, and then that becomes the new creation. Okay? All right. A new creature, new ways of connection, new ways of connecting with God, new ways of understanding, and his prayer is always for people to have a wise and understanding heart. Do you know that? A wise and understanding heart. A heart that sees and perceives and understands with wisdom and love, not an energy that responds to the standards outside of it, but lives inside. When I know who I am, my power is within me. I no longer look to the world to define me. Have you tried to have the world define you? I go off the chart. I mean, there is no model for me. There's probably no model for you guys either, if we really get serious. You know, we're all unique. We're all different. And when we ask the world to define us, then we become something pared down, something that is not the essence of us. So, when I know who I am, I no longer look for that. I live as I am guided. My spiritual journey becomes my outer expression. I am who I am. Does everybody know what you believe spiritually by how you act? Actually, they do. They know whether you're conflicted. They know whether you're convicted. They know whether you're living to standards by how you act. We express ourselves in our demonstration. But if our true essence, our true spiritual journey is awake within, then our expression reflects that and expresses that. That is what Jesus came to teach. Everybody with me so far? Okay, so let's go back. I want this to be what God told me to say, so I'm just going to say it. We're going back to the time that Jesus came. Every religion that we can see at that time had a structure of compliance. Every religion that he touched, everybody he visited, the Buddhists, the Brahmin, the Jews, they all had structures of compliance. You had to comply with their edicts, their rules, their religions, their doctrine. So there were rules, lots and lots and lots of rules, and there were sacrifices for those rules. There were sacrifices for everything. In the Jewish faith, you had to actually give a sacrifice for being alive, basically. I mean, it was that detailed. It was that detailed for being human. For being human. So it was so structured that you had to comply with this outer idea of who God is. All right? So, obedience to the structure. Who has the power over your soul? The structure. The structure has the power over you, because if you're not obedient to the structure, you're not going to get to God, because we are your pathway to God. Do you see? So, is this still true today? Do we have structures around us that still dictate it to us and tell us that we're not valuable, good, or God doesn't love us, or we can't be free? When we do that, if we can recognize that is a power outside of self, who is the chooser? It's the one inside. We are the ultimate chooser. We choose how we respond to that power outside of self. In that day and time, it was very, very difficult because nobody felt that they could feel God. They had to go through these pathways. So this is why Jesus came to create a shift that would allow God to express. All right. We all know the stories of Jesus in his life. He came to bring peace. He said, I come to bring peace to you. I come to bring peace to you. But what he also says is that toward the end of the ministry, he taught in love. He healed in love. He taught them all about God as love. He connected them with God. But at the end of the ministry, he said, no, I came to bring peace, because they called him the Prince of Peace. He said, but the peace I bring is going to be quite aggressive. Not because I'm making it aggressive, but because the world is going to fight it. There will be a household of 5, 3 will fight the 2. There'll be this situation, and they will turn upon each other. And what he was saying is the concepts of having love and God in your heart, a power inside you, is going to be fought by the world. The world does not want you to have power inside you. This is what he said. And you will be fought. And you have to hold to the power in you. And he said, for not my name, many things will be wrong. People will use it wrongly. But I am telling you, the peace I bring is the peace that will take you to your heart. But you will be opposed. And we know the history, right? We know how difficult it was, if you've ever studied the history of Christianity. I mean, even in 100 AD, they were fighting each other, the Christians were. And then in 300 AD, Constantine said, I'm going to create a Catholic church. And so he did. And so now everybody that's not Catholic, they fought. It was just this whole thing of, eventually became structure and power. Eventually it became exactly what it was trying to heal, but the seed had been planted. The seed of the love of God had been planted, and it could not be taken away. So even though the structures were created again, the people had a knowing inside. The power was within them. They obeyed the structures for a long, long time, but over time we've been growing this power within. All right. Eventually people saw the truth. But let me go back to Jesus' time. Let's not go back to Christianity. Let's go back to Jesus' time. He was saying to the people, the power is in you, the power is in your heart, the power is in you. You need to let go of the outer structures. If we accept the timeline, which has changed so much since I was a child, but let's just say hypothetically 0 AD was when Jesus was born. 33 AD was when Jesus was crucified. In 65, 66, 67 AD, 30 years after Jesus was crucified, the Jerusalem temple was annihilated. The Jerusalem faith, the faith of the Jews, was annihilated. They only survived by changing. The power outside, all the rules, all the regulations were wiped out. The temple was destroyed. And they became refugees, and there was an annihilation. They had to change. So they became prayer-based. Prayer-based, not sacrifice-based. They became seeking this God inside them, even though they had their own rituals that they created anew in a different way. But they changed. And the Christians, who had been a sect of the Jewish faith for the 30 years, they were part of them, kind of, friends, cousins. They had to pull away completely. And those early Christians had to become autonomous because they couldn't be affiliated any longer because they were gone. We had two major religions in 30 years after his death who had to find the love of God in their hearts. They had to start beginning to find a power within them. Do you understand what I'm saying? Whatever happened after that point, how it evolved over time, it's our human nature, but the seed he brought was there. And it was a difficult road. Fighting the power outside of self, as you know, sets you apart. If you are not in agreement with the power outside of self, you are separate from it. And then you have to find the strength to continue walking the path of who you are. Okay? All right. Why am I talking about power inside or outside of self? Y'all, what is the greatest power? Love. Love is the greatest power. If we are fighting power outside of self, are we operating in fear? Yes. If we find the power in our hearts, we are operating in love. And this is what Jesus brought, that beautiful energy of love. How can we grow our love within when our power is still outside of self? And I know I came through a different time than y'all did. I'm a seasoned being. And being a female seasoned being, I came through that era where we were not favored. Just it's equal now, right? Ladies, is it equal now? Okay, good. And the you should and you shouldn't and you should and you shouldn't and you should and you shouldn't was tremendous. And no one of those voices saw me. They never saw who I was. I just smile at them. And they say, well, you need to do this to do that. And it's like, maybe I don't want to do that. And I would just smile at him. I would say, God, what do you need me to do? Put my feet one in front of the other. And I walked a path trusting the God in my heart. And it was hard to always be the crazy one, always to be the one that was outside of the norm. But your heart will always take you there, guys. Because you're not normal. You're welcome. You're unique and beautiful children of God. You have something unique and beautiful to share with the world. That was what Jesus brought to us, that beautiful path that showed us this inside us. Okay. The door to power did not open at Jesus' death. You know, they say that the veil tore. In the Jewish faith, there was the Holy of Holies, which was the third level of the altar in the inner sanctuary. There was a veil in front of it, and only the highest of high priests, only the top dude, was allowed through the veil, and Dr. Errico says he only went there once a year. And so it was like really holy, holy. And the scripture tells us in Matthew and in the Aquarian as well that when Jesus was crucified, the veil tore. Now, symbolically, we know that that means that energetically, God is now available to all mankind. It was that there's no separation. We do not need an intercessor. You don't need a high priest to get you to God. God's available to all mankind. But the tearing of that veil also was a very real energy of tearing the ideas in that moment that God is separate from you, that God is still far out there somewhere, tearing those ideas, and you can walk into the Holy of Holies at any moment. So at that moment, we think the door did not open at that moment. The door was torn up at that moment. The door was thrown away at that moment. The door opened at his birth. The door to our inner love opened when he was born. The world was ready to receive, and they did not know how to connect with God. They didn't know how to find God within, and they didn't have permission to do it, y'all. They didn't have permission to do that. So, Creator was far away, still outside of self. And we talked about last week the vibration that was around the earth at his birth. He brought an energy that pierced the veil of separation. He brought an energy that pierced it. And by doing that, the love of God was moved into this level of mankind. It was brought in energetically. He brought the love of God, and everyone that ever saw him saw it. Every leader saw it. Every human saw it. They saw it in his eyes. They saw it in his consciousness, that he had something they had never seen before. And in his ministry, it was the love in him. He connected the light with each person. Let me say that differently. You know when someone, even a stranger, looks at you and you feel that they see your soul, and you feel that they love you. Who is this person who I don't know them from Adam, and I feel this acceptance from them and love from them and understanding from them, and oh my God, I just want to hug them. You know, I know you've had at least one person, yes, in your world that you've run into randomly. You go, oh my God, you know me, and you may never see him again. Jesus brought that personal love to the planet. The personal love of Father, Mother, God. The personal love that says, I see you. And you know what? You're important to me. I see you and you're important to me. You're not just a random number. You're my child. Where you been? You know, come here. That personal love that Jesus Christ brought to us was so different than any other faith had delivered. It wasn't conceptual. It was real. Okay. This is our goal, to feel God's love within us, that personal oneness. And you know, Jesus said, I'm going to be with you forever. Remember the scripture, lo, I'm with you always, even to the end of the earth. And do you know when you have those moments and you're asking for connection and you just say, okay, and you're trying to pray or you're meditating, you say, Jesus, I just want to feel you. I just need you for a minute. Please talk to me. And you feel him. You feel his presence. You feel his love. You know what I'm talking about. In those moments, he is right there personally with you. I didn't leave you guys. I am with you. I'm bringing the same personal love and holding that same personal love for each one of you until we're done. Until we high five everybody and we're out of here and we completed. Until we're happy. That is still there. I'm with you always. And he's everywhere available. He's one with the Father now. I'm with you always. That love you can feel in your heart. That love you can feel. It's you cannot explain it with your brain. You cannot give logic to it. It is beyond. But it is the gift of his presence, still loving you as a human. So, the divine love connected humanity to God and connected us to Jesus. Now we get to choose how we want to be if we've got that divine love. To believe that God love is within you, you will become that God within you. Transformation is to become new. It occurs when you are no longer the strawberry being dipped in a consciousness. Transformation occurs when you become a celestial berry. A beautiful berry full of light. And you are flowing a new vibration into the world. The God power is within you. You are one with God, one with Jesus, and one with your inner Christ. You have transformed. The door that he came through, race consciousness as a whole could not grasp that God was within them, that God loved them, and that there was nothing that they had to do to connect with God but stop and talk. That's all they had to do. They couldn't understand that. So Jesus came and gifted humanity with a personal love from God through him. He created a bridge so we could walk through that light. And that personal love is still active with us always today. How do I move from outer power to personal love within me? I have to understand and know I am deserving. All the yeah buts that come through your brain, you need to write them down and burn them in the burning bowl. Let them go. The yeah buts are the structures from your childhood. They're the structures from your childhood. I wrote on my notes, I want to talk about someday, we hold those babies, we love those babies, and we hold them and go, I cannot wait to see who you're going to be. But you know what we're really saying? I cannot wait to see how you're going to survive all the programming we're putting into you. That's what we're saying to those babies. And we hope you make it. I am deserving. Take the programming away. Let it go. I am connected. Even when I can't feel I'm still connected, is my heart beating? Am I still breathing? I am connected to God. There you go. I am still breathing. My heart's beating. I am connected to God. Period. That's it. I am loved and lovable. I am able to create. I am being. And I am one with God. Talk to yourself. I am all these things. I am always with God, even when I'm cranky and unhappy. My Father, Mother God is there, and Jesus Christ is probably laughing at me. But I am still connected. The personal love that passes our ability to understand is the love that allows us to share love with one another. It allows us to share love without an outer power or agenda or structure. That personal love is who God is to us and who we are to one another when we allow it to flow. So Jesus kicked that door open for us, brought down the greatest blessing we could have, and then he said, y'all, I'm going to be with you till the end, but it's going to get a little rough out there. You need to stay centered. Stay centered in your heart. How's it feel? Let's anchor it in. Let's take a breath. Father, Mother God, we open our hearts, and I ask that your beautiful love just engulf each one here. And we are ready for some Christmas blessings. I want you just to imagine a beautiful column of light over you. Just let yourself lift up that column of light for a moment. And welcome in the consciousness of Jesus Christ. You may see a visual, you may feel his presence, you may sense him. And as you do, just recognize his love for you that we've been talking about, that personal love that he brought. And send your love to him. Thank you for the gift. Thank you for reminding me I am God's. I get to choose my life. And thank you for loving me as I choose my life. Feel his love just engulfing you even greater. And just welcome your expanded vision to open and just become aware of beautiful Christmas angels, angels of light and joy, and feel the gifts from Father, Mother, God are unconditional, freely flowing. You are never alone. You're never not supplied. Breathe in from this beautiful light anything you need for your life. We receive the support, the love, and the peace, God. And feel yourself a part of that beautiful love, personal love for God. And while we're here, I want you to just allow yourself to become aware of any concept, structure, or institution, being, person who you have felt you had to please, who had your power. And I want you to just throw some Christmas love at them. Have some presence. Have some love of God. I no longer have to choose your way. I can choose my own. And let there be love. And we thank you, God. Bless each one with that multiplied energy of abundant joy. Take a breath. Allow your focus to come back into the chair, bringing all your energy with you, the gifts, the light, the love. And when you're ready, you can just gently open your eyes. Well, that message was from Spirit for you today, and I hope it blessed your heart in some way. And take it with you now as you're going out to continue in your preparation for Christmas. And when someone says to you, "Thou shalt not," say, "Oh, but I shall." Yea, God.